Welcome to the Create on Purpose podcast with Kimberly Michelle. I wrote this at 3:07 in the morning. I was laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and somewhere on the internet, my voice is about to become permanent. There's nothing I can do to stop it now. Every Monday night this happens for the past 7 weeks. I wake up, not because I forgot to publish the podcast, but because I already did. So if you're anywhere near my age, you probably understand the 3 a.m. wake up call, right? Sometimes it's a horrendous hot flash. Sometimes my brain just decides that now is the perfect time to replay every single awkward conversation that I have ever had. Sometimes I wake up for no reason at all. But on Monday nights, it's something different. It's fear. Because while the rest of the world is sleeping, another episode of this podcast is quietly making its way into the lives of people I have never met. And if I'm being honest, I never stay awake to hit the publish button. I have to schedule every episode ahead of time. Not because I'm incredibly organized, I am far from it, but because if I were sitting at my computer when it was time to release it, there is a very good chance that I would never let it go out into the world and fear would win. My mind starts negotiating. Delete it. This one's not good enough. Who do you think you are? Nobody wants to hear this. What if people misunderstand you? What if they judge you? What if they simply don't like you? It's amazing how creative fear becomes when it's trying to keep us small. The strange thing is, I don't think fear ever completely goes away. I think it just finds new disguises. For some of us, it's perfection. For others, it's procrastination. Sometimes it's just overthinking. Sometimes it's convincing ourselves that we'll just start that tomorrow or the next week or when I feel more confident. But confidence usually isn't what comes first. Courage is. Because putting something honest into this world is very vulnerable. Whether it's a podcast, a painting, a business, a difficult conversation, or simply telling someone how you really feel. What we're really saying is, this is who I am, this is how I see the world, and this is what I believe. And not everyone is going to see it the same way. There are nights when I wonder if it would just be easier to stay quiet. Life would certainly be safer. But then I remember something. Years ago, there was a heaviness that I could not outrun. It was the kind that's difficult to explain because from outside, everything can still look fine. I didn't know how to ask for help, so I just didn't. Instead, I wrote a few words on Facebook. It was nothing dramatic. In fact, if you weren't paying attention, you probably would have just scrolled right past them. But someone didn't. An old friend noticed. Out of everyone scrolling through their feed that day, he paid attention, and he and his wife reached out to me. I've often wondered what would have happened if they hadn't, if they had assumed that someone else would check in on me, if they had worried about saying the wrong thing, or if they just decided that it wasn't their place. But instead, they reached out. And one simple act of courage changed the direction of my life. Someone once interrupted my darkness because they had the courage to reach out. This podcast is my way of reaching back out to the world. Not because I have all the answers, far from it. I have made a lot of mistakes. I've talked openly here about my recovery from alcohol, not because I'm proud of those years, but because pretending they never happened wouldn't erase all the lessons that they gave me. Those years taught me humility. They taught me compassion. They taught me that people really can change. And they taught me something else. Anything meaningful requires a leap of faith. Faith isn't waiting until fear disappears. It's deciding fear does not get your final vote. On Monday night, fear still shows up. It whispers the same familiar things. Delete it. This one's not good enough. You should just keep these things to yourself. But another voice has started to speak louder. And it reminds me that what other people think about me is none of my business. My responsibility is not to control how people respond. My responsibility is to be honest, to tell the stories that keep finding me, and to help us slow down long enough to notice the extraordinary things hidden inside ordinary moments. Because maybe, just maybe, someone listening today is awake at 3 in the morning too. Maybe you're wondering whether you're good enough. Maybe you're standing at the edge of something that matters to you. Maybe you're questioning whether you should start that business or apply for that job, go back to school, leave the relationship, make the phone call, send the text, walk into therapy, ask for help, or just finally admit, I cannot keep living like this. Maybe your version of pressing publish is not a podcast. Maybe it looks completely different, but every single one of us has a publish button. It just takes a different form. And if that's where you are today, please hear this. You don't have to feel fearless before you begin. You only have to be willing to take the next step. The first step is almost always the hardest. Not because we're incapable, but because we can't see what's waiting on the other side of our courage. I couldn't see where one scheduled podcast episode would lead. Just like my friend wouldn't have known that one phone call would lead to me doing a podcast years later. Most of the meaningful moments in our lives begin because someone chooses courage over comfort. So maybe this week, someone else's future is waiting on the other side of your courage, just like mine once was. Tonight I'll probably wake up again. I'll probably stare at the ceiling. Fear will probably whisper all the same things, but by then it'll be too late. This episode's already going to be out into the world, and I'm beginning to think maybe that is exactly how courage works. We don't wait until fear leaves. We simply stop giving it the final vote. Thank you for joining me today on the Create on Purpose podcast. If this episode stirred something in you, I'd genuinely love to hear from you in the comments. What is one thing that you've been afraid to begin because you're worried about what other people might think? And if someone came to mind while you were listening, share this episode with them. You never know when your courage might become someone else's turning point. So wherever you are in the world today, thank you for being a part of mine. Now go leave someone else's world a little better than you found it. Create on Purpose, now available on YouTube and Spotify.